Aw, now we get it! Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 TV finales that don't mean what you think. Think you know Star Trek? Click below to sign in with your Google or Facebook account and take the new trivia quiz on WatchMojo.com. For this list, we're taking a look at TV show finales that audiences generally didn't understand or that are commonly misinterpreted. Obviously, a spoiler alert is now in effect. Number 10, Battlestar Galactica.
It's okay. Just let me go.
After seemingly biting the dust, Kara Starbuck Thrace's resurrection was one of this sci-fi drama's greatest mysteries going into its final season. Her reappearance is only made more confusing when she suddenly vanishes in the midst of a heart-to-heart with Lee. No, Lee didn't just go crazy and imagine Starbuck. While it remains unclear how exactly she came back, Starbuck's last scene is supposed to emphasize that she's been dead this whole time and returned as a guardian angel to guide her people to a new home.
Where are you going?
I don't know. I just know that I am done here.
Having served her purpose, she's finally able to move on. Of course, while the future seems bright for humanity, it's revealed that all this happened in our own past, and could happen all over again. Number 9, The Good Wife.
My wife and I would like to thank all the people who have supported us over the years.
This legal drama worked up to a controversial final confrontation between Alicia and Diane. Having thrown Diane under the bus to save her husband Peter, Alicia receives a slap across the face from her former boss. What many people miss is the parallel between this scene and the first episode where Alicia slapped Peter for his deceit and betrayal. Despite her frustration with Peter, Alicia played the role of the good wife throughout the series. At the same time, Alicia has significantly evolved throughout the show's 7 seasons, going from the victim to the victimizer. Although she may not want to admit it, Alicia's become more like her husband, thus ending up on the other side of the slap. Number 8, Seinfeld.
See, now to me, that button is in the worst possible spot.
The Seinfeld finale upset numerous viewers, and we can understand why. As shallow and inconsiderate as these characters were, nobody wanted to see them end up behind bars after 9 years. That being said, the final scene between the four is classic Seinfeld. Rather than reflecting on their poor behavior, Elaine dwells on her phone call and Kramer gets the water out of his ear.
I got it. It's out!
Jerry and George's meaningless discussion about button placement is a callback to the pilot's first scene where the two have the exact same conversation, which George is quick to remember. It goes to show that even after being sentenced to a year in prison, the gang has learned nothing and will just repeat the same cycles once they're released.
Oh, yeah. The second button is the key button. It literally makes or breaks the shirt.
Number 7, Master of None.
Sei pronta?
While he hasn't ruled out the possibility of a third season, Aziz Ansari currently seems content with where he left Dev in the season 2 finale of Master of None, as vague as that ending might have been. The final scene between Dev and Francesca lying in bed leaves their relationship open to people's interpretation, as Ansari put it.
My favorite endings are of films, and especially with the romantic arc involved, are very ambiguous and really up to viewer interpretation.
One detail that makes the ending more conclusive than people think, however, is the absence of Francesca's engagement ring, implying that she left her fiancé to be with Dev. Then again, since the ending is intended to be ambiguous, you could also argue that this is a dream of what could have been. In any case, their future together remains up in the air. Number 6, Frasier.
The only reason I'm leaving is because I want what all of you have now.
Sometimes a single line of dialogue can change an entire ending. Such is the case for Frasier. At the beginning of this 2-part finale, Frasier finds himself on a plane, reminiscing about his last days in Seattle. Throughout the episode, we're led to believe that Frasier is on a flight to San Francisco where a new job awaits him. When the plane lands, however, the captain announces that they've landed in Chicago, meaning that Frasier actually chose to pursue his relationship with Charlotte.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Chicago.
Since Frasier never overtly announces his decision, and the captain's words fly by so fast, it's easy for viewers to overlook the show's final destination. In the end, Frasier took a chance on love, adding to the poignancy of his goodbye speech.
Wish me luck.
Number 5, The Leftovers.
Did I think about you?
If you think The Leftovers was all about the rapture, you have misinterpreted the meaning of the whole show. This series was more about how people cope with tragedy and search for answers in a world where nothing is etched in stone. Nowhere is this better exemplified than in the final scene between an aged Kevin and Nora.
And I knew that if I told you what happened, that you would never believe me.
Having been apart for years, Nora claims that she crossed over to an alternate reality where 98% of humanity disappeared. Based on Nora's hesitation before she supposedly crossed over, however, it's possible that she never went through with the procedure and fabricated this entire story. In the end, it doesn't matter, as Kevin and Nora have at last found each other and in due course have found closure.
I believe you.
Number 4. Cheers.
You can never be unfaithful to your one true love.
Whereas Frasier Crane chooses to start over in a new city, Sam Malone decides to let Diane go, realizing that Cheers is his one true love. The final scene finds a patron knocking on the Boston bar's door, to which Sam replies, "Sorry, we're closed." While this seems straightforward enough, Sam's final line led some viewers to believe that Cheers had closed its doors for good. Having reflected on how much this bar means to him though, Sam most likely meant that Cheers was only closing for the night, and would reopen the next day as usual. It may be the end of the series, but life goes on at Cheers even after the credits roll.
Sorry, we're closed.
Number 3. Mad Men.
Mother, son, we greet you and are thankful for the sweetness of the earth.
Mad Men never spelt out its underlying themes to viewers, and the finale is no exception. Meditating at a retreat center, a slight smile stretches across Don Draper's face. We then cut to an iconic Coca-Cola commercial from 1971. Although this ending left people with question marks over their heads, there are a couple of different ways to interpret it. The most likely explanation is that Don came up with this groundbreaking commercial, going to advertising heaven.
You are dying and going to advertising heaven.
Of course, it's also possible that Don decided to leave his life as an ad man behind and start over as a free-spirited hippie. Either way, Mad Men was largely about one man's journey of self-discovery, and in this moment, Don finally sees where he belongs in the world.
The Reverend was a psycho liar who claimed he came up with the Buy the World a Coke commercial.
Number 2. Lost.
You died.
Yes, I did.
Given this supernatural drama's various twists and turns, it should come as no surprise that the ending left more than a few people scratching their heads. As Jack met up with his fellow Islanders in a church, some audience members jumped to the conclusion that they'd been dead this entire time.
We're all dead.
What?
Jack, Kate.
Based on what Jack's father tells him though, it's safe to say everything that took place on the island actually happened, and that the Oceanic 815 survivors have reunited in this purgatory as a way of letting go.
You're real. Everything that's ever happened to you is real. All those people in the church, they're all real too.
Time moves differently in this Flash Sideways universe, allowing everyone to come together regardless of when they died. Yeah, even with that explanation, the finale is not the easiest to follow, but what else would you expect from Lost? Number 1. The Sopranos. Eating onion rings with his wife and son in a public restaurant as Don't Stop Believin' plays, Tony Soprano awaits his daughter's arrival. The front door opens, Tony looks up, and cut to black. While not the most conclusive ending, several clues indicate that Tony was killed.
You probably don't even hear it when it happens, right?
For starters, there was Bobby's comment in an earlier episode about how you probably don't even hear it when you die, hence why the music stops. What's more, Meadow fails to park her car twice, just as Tony has survived 2 assassination attempts. Meadow successfully parks on her 3rd try, but 3 doesn't seem to be Tony's lucky number. There are other examples of foreshadowing alluding to Tony's death, although hardly anyone likely caught them at first glance. Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.